Hello and welcome to the Indian Dream podcast, co-hosted by Sahil and Siddharth. On this show, we highlight the journeys of successful SME entrepreneurs who've built profitable businesses and attempt to learn more about what it takes to build one. Each week, Sahil and I will interview one such entrepreneur and learn something unique from their journey. For our first episode, I spoke to my co-host Sahil. He runs an electrical components manufacturing business out of Bombay. We spoke about digital marketing for a B2B company engaged in manufacturing and exporting highly technical electrical components. He's had an interesting journey of setting up the company's digital marketing efforts over the last 4 years. Listen on to understand how he's leveraged digital channels like YouTube, LinkedIn to grow his business, attract talent, and build a long term credibility. Hope you enjoy the episode. We have with us Sahil Khandwala, director at Axis Electrical Components. The company was started in 1994 primarily to cater to the export market of electrical components and has had an interesting journey to come to a point where it's the market leader in the kind of products that they deal with. Sahil finished his master's in econ in 2015 and joined Axis full time. He looks after change management, digital marketing, and the IoT push that the company is making. Sahil, before we go further, would you like to brief our audience on what does Axis Electrical Components do? Who are your typical customers, and where are these customers located?
Hey Siddharth, it's great to be here. So, just a little brief on Axis. Axis is basically a manufacturer and exporter of electrical components. So, when we talk about electrical components, we mean low voltage components that are used to connect, terminate, and to suspend electrical cables. So, let's say, for example, you have an electrical pole in a village. So, our components are used at the top of the electrical pole, and they're used to either support the cable, to terminate the cable, or to connect the cable so that it can continue on its journey. And we also make what are called lighting protection and earthing systems. And our typical customer profile usually looks like a electrical utility or an electrical contractor. So in the case of, let's say, India, our typical customer would be, let's say, L&T, which is a very large electrical contractor where they will get the contract to build maybe 1,000 kilometers of low and medium voltage electrical distribution lines, and we supply the products to them, and L&T would use our products in their contracting agreement.
Sahil, tell me something. When you're selling to these electrical utilities and contractors, who's the typical buyer in an organization like that? Who's the decision maker and who's the buyer in an organization like that?
So in these kind of organizations, very large organizations, the typical decision makers are twofold. Firstly, we have to go past the technical hurdle where we have to make sure that our products meet the technical requirements and the certification requirements. And once that technical hurdle is met, then it goes into the purchase manager. So the purchase manager is more concerned about, let's say, pricing or delivery schedules.
What's the overall marketing strategy that Axis follows? What kind of activities do you undergo?
So I'll start with the very first marketing activities that Axis did. And this is a story that I hear from the directors. This is the lore of Axis, is that when they first started in 1994, they sat down with a designer, they made some brochures, and then they just sat down in somebody's apartment and they stuffed a bunch of envelopes, and then they just started mailing customers across the world, primarily to the Middle East and I think to Europe and the US as well. And a lot of money was spent on the mailing of these physical catalogs back in the mid 90s, which must have been quite expensive. Since then, obviously, our marketing and sales activities have evolved a lot more. And one of the primary marketing activities that we follow, and a lot of people in our industry still follow, is exhibitions. For B2B industries in particular, exhibitions are one of the primary ways that we meet new customers and where we have our regular touch points with existing customers. At the same time, we have a lot of salespeople who go to the Middle East very often, who go to Africa very often, who go to Europe, to America, to Australia, and to all of our customers in across India. We have people in all the different zones in India in different states, and all of our salespeople are constantly meeting our customers. It's very important to have that kind of personal relationship in a B2B sales. That's something I've realized.
That's the traditional sort of sales and marketing that happened in B2B for the last decade or so, or at least uh, 2010s, early 2010s, and early 2000s, and the entire 2000s, right, where it was completely focused on exhibitions, trade promos, and maybe even cold calling in certain industries. But I think something has sort of changed in the last 3-4 years, where we are seeing a lot of early adopters in the B2B market figuring out how to use digital marketing, or sort of how do we build a profile digitally to attract some leads, right? Most of the B2B manufacturers know the offline marketing game of exhibitions and all of those things. They've really cracked that. But the new thing out there today is the digital marketing. And the reason why I wanted to discuss this with you is because I've gone through your website, I've gone through your LinkedIn page, I've gone through your YouTube page, right? Your YouTube page has around 350,000 views for the videos that you've created, which is phenomenal given how technical the product is. So I wanted to understand, where did that decision come from? Why did you guys decide that, hey, this is going to be a key focus area for us? And how did that really evolve over time?
So, firstly, exhibitions are immensely expensive. One exhibition that is your keystone exhibition can end up costing a lot of money depending on how big your marketing budget is. So, digital marketing, the reason the idea first came about is because obviously you're not putting all your eggs in one basket of that one exhibition that has to go perfectly. Otherwise, your sales for the rest of the year are affected. While with digital marketing, there is a constant touch point. So I'll tell you where this idea first started was probably around 4 years ago, where we got a customer complaint about one of our products not performing on the field. And we knew that product, and we knew that product should perform, and there were no issues with the product because we did our usual quality checks. And then we did a deeper root cause analysis, and we figured out that the reason the product was not performing on the field was because we had not provided the proper training to the customer to use the product properly. So then we thought, okay, sending somebody from Bombay to the field, and the field can be some very remote part of, let's say, Uttar Pradesh. It can be quite expensive to get somebody there on the next flight the next day. So we decided, okay, so if we want to solve this issue for the long run, we need to have some way of easily sending that information to the customer on a regular basis. So that's how we started down that journey of YouTube, where we had this problem, and the way we decided to solve this problem is by making YouTube videos and by uploading those on YouTube. And when we uploaded them on YouTube, we were very surprised because we immediately started getting a lot of views. What we realized at that point is that there was an unmet need of explanations for these products or these groups of products that our competitors were not filling at that moment. And because we filled that gap, sort of by mistake, people started crowding around us, and we started getting a lot of questions about our products and about what we are doing.
I was also surprised seeing 350,000 views for the kind of videos that you'd put up, because they are so technical, right? A product that clamps wires on an electrical pole. I did not expect that to happen, which is what got me fascinated on why did you guys do this. And it's interesting that it came from a fact that there was a product complaint, right? And that's the beauty of content. It takes effort and money to create upfront, but it can be leveraged over the years. So the cost of leveraging it, marginal cost of making somebody else use it is actually zero for you guys. Now that it's on YouTube, anybody can come and see it, and that's the beauty of content. Once you do it, it's there, out there forever.
Now that we've made that content, anytime that there is a complaint or if there's a question about how to use that product, all we have to do is we have to send that link. And there have been so many times where I've been in conversations with people at an exhibition or anywhere else, and all I'll have to do is just bring up my playlist, and I just WhatsApp it to them right at that moment, and immediately they have the product information on their cell phones. And if they want to send it forward to some other customer, or if they want to show to their technical team that, okay, this is how the product works, is it something that we can use, it's very easy for them to now share it. And I believe it has brought us a lot of benefits. It might not be possible to always get a proper ROI on what these benefits are. I would love to do a study on what the ROI has been on those projects, but I have seen a lot of intangible benefits through our interactions with customers.
100%, right? Because if you think about it, it's not just solving the particular pain point at that, and when they're seeing that issue, but it's also sort of creating that trust and that brand recall. Every video of yours has an Access logo at the very bottom of it. Every video of yours is enhancing that trust in the customer's mind, that these guys know what they're talking about, these guys know what kind of products are they manufacturing, and the technical knowledge behind it is very strong. So I think that goes a long way. And as you said, not everything that you're doing in digital marketing is tangible, and it takes some sort of effort to even manage the ROI. But as you said, there are intangible benefits that you've already seen over the last few years.
I feel it goes back to impressions. When you talk about brand building, when you talk about building trust with your customers, it goes down to how many people are seeing your product or how many people are seeing your name. So now when I talk about YouTube, or I talk about LinkedIn, or I talk about my website, it all comes back to the number of impressions that I'm getting. When I look at my numbers on YouTube, I look at my numbers on any of these other platforms, I see tens of thousands of impressions every month. In certain platforms, I maybe see hundreds of thousands of impressions every month. Now, let's say that we're just talking about a traditional exhibition. Maybe my impressions over there, the number of times my brand has been seen, is maybe only a couple of thousand. And now compare that to tens of thousands of impressions. Not all of them will be relevant, but at least I can say that a certain percentage of that will be relevant. And I am building my brand over time. Let's say that maybe a student sees my brand right now because they're researching something for their college, or they're researching something to learn more about our products. Now that student then becomes a purchase manager at a company. Now immediately I have that brand recall because I got that impression early on.
Another example of that could be a student who's interested in this field, is looking at your products and wants to be in this field, can also come to you and say that I want to work for you. This could be a smart kid who can have ideas on how to enhance Access's client acquisition strategy or something. So that's also the talent attraction piece, is also something that comes from putting out the content out
That
there.
is a very good point, because that is also something that we have seen. We have invested a significant amount of time on LinkedIn over the past 6 months or so, and we've started seeing the benefits from that recently, is where we're seeing a lot more people approaching us directly on LinkedIn, where earlier, in the Indian context, you had to really chase after people to find good profiles. Now we are getting those profiles coming directly to us. I definitely put it to our branding efforts on LinkedIn. That has definitely given us the visibility where people are approaching us directly, that this is a good brand, that maybe this is somebody I want to work with, and this is somebody I should apply for a job with.
Yeah, I think it changes the perception of the company significantly, even for a potential employee, right? Before I go deep on that, what kind of branding are you guys doing on LinkedIn? I know when I was researching, I think your page had around 7,000 followers. Can you take me through that journey of how did you build that kind of followership? Because I see a lot of B2C companies that are doing really well in India don't have that kind of followership on LinkedIn. So you've done something there, and I would love to explore what that is.
So around December of last year is when we really started our journey on LinkedIn. So right now when we're talking in July of 2020. And it was in December of 2019 that we really started paying attention to LinkedIn. And the reason that we started paying attention to LinkedIn at that time is because we were about to go into one of our biggest exhibitions that happens every 2 years. Now we were looking at that exhibition that was coming up, and we were thinking, okay, how do we build a buzz around this exhibition? We can use our existing mailing list, but that is restricted to the people who already know about the brand. How do we bring in more people into our brand? And then we looked at LinkedIn, and I noticed that our biggest competitor, they had something like 15,000 followers on LinkedIn at that point. And I looked at them and I was like, oh wow, this is how they are building the buzz. There's something to learn from these people who are doing better than us. They were really posting more than twice a day, I would say, at that point in December, when the exhibition was in early February or late Jan. So we started investing in early December. We started investing a lot of time into LinkedIn. We started immediately started seeing the results of the investment, because December of last year, I think we were around 600 followers, maybe 700. And right now we are sitting at around 7,000. And the reason for that is because we started posting on a daily basis about, okay, come to our exhibition. And not just that, but we also started saying that, okay, look at, these are our team members who are going to the exhibition. These are the people that you can learn from. These are the products that you can learn about. And this is what you can expect to see at the exhibition. So wouldn't it be exciting for you to come to the exhibition and to, have a chat with us and to learn from us? and for us to learn from you. And we started seeing a lot of engagement around that. And then we started seeing our follower numbers increasing very quickly because we were posting about things that were very engaging and things that were quite interesting. And then post the exhibition, we started, I think, posting more about this is how our products work. This is what you can learn about our products. We started posting more about from a content marketing point of view.
Two, three interesting things that you brought up, right? Looking at what your competition is doing is such an important task when you go out in your digital marketing journey, because that helps you understand what kind of content is being posted, what kind of keywords are relevant, and your strategy can be influenced by that. Sometimes it could be just copying that strategy, some of those keywords, some of that content from your perspective, or you could figure out that there's a white space that these guys are not talking about. Let me go out and talk about that, right? For, I think, for example, the YouTube videos that you've created about, specifically how to use the product is that white space that I don't think anybody else is doing, which is why you see the views that you see today, right? And some of the content, as you said, was just taking what the competition is doing and doing something similar along the similar lines. Would you agree with that?
So the keyword over here is keyword. And this is something that I personally spend a lot of time looking at. There's a fantastic tool online. It's on a guy's website called neilpatel.com. You can just Google Neil Patel Uber Suggest. So Neil Patel Uber Suggest helps you look at, first of all, you can analyze your competitors' website to see what kind of keywords that they're using. And secondly, you can just search for keywords and you can see how much your competitors are investing in that keyword or what kind of content they're making around that keyword. And building your own strategy around keywords is probably the most important thing. Whenever I am doing something new, whenever I'm looking or researching into something, that is where I always start, is keywords. What is already there in the internet on this keyword? If there's nothing on the internet on this keyword right now, how do I make something? And if there is already a lot of content, how can I make it better? Or how can I make it different? Or how can I make it more relevant and local to the needs of the people in India or to the needs of the people where my customer is?
So you mentioned something about, if there is no content on the internet for that particular keyword, how can I go out and create this? But I'm assuming there's a step involved somewhere where you figure out if that keyword is even relevant for your industry. How do you go about doing that? How do you figure out if that keyword is something that people are searching for and looking for?
So one exercise that we have done internally is that we have created what we call buyer personas, where we figure out who are the kind of people that are buying our products. And we use these buyer personas to basically constantly realign our website and the kind of content that we create. So for example, we have buyer personas for different parts of the world as well. So in India, we look at what kind of buyer persona we have. In India, our buyers are usually purchase managers from large corporations, large contracting companies. So I try to think, at least from their perspective, is that, okay, how is this person who is a purchase manager at this company going to search for this product? They're probably going to use these kind of keywords. And then I search for those keywords with, obviously, I know how my companies run and I know what my products are and how my products are used. Obviously, there has to be high level of knowledge about the products and about the company. And using these kind of steps, I will use tools such as Uber Suggest, and there are some other tools as well that can be used, but I really enjoy Uber Suggest, where we can then see that there's a gap in the market for content, or there is content but it is more focused towards maybe American consumers. But instead, we need to make something for our domestic consumers. We need to make something for the Indian purchase manager and what he is looking for. So these buyer personas is one thing that we have created that has helped us a lot in kind of framing our own internal questions as to how should we frame our content and towards whom should we frame our content.
It's so fascinating for me. I think content marketing in the B2C world has taken off. It's all the rage and everybody is doing it. But in the B2B industrial product segment, I don't think it's leveraged enough. And I was researching about this. I think 90% of the researchers or buyers today use internet search at some point in their buying process. And another study suggested that 71% actually start the buying process online, right? And as a B2B manufacturer, if you have no online persona, except from maybe, Trade India and India Mart and other global marketplaces, which is I think the base minimum that everybody is on. It's like the online exhibition sort of relevance, right? So everybody is on there. So you need to go above and beyond to differentiate. And content is such a beautiful thing to do it, because you're not actively selling anything, right? I think humans psychologically, we get turned off when somebody is pushing very hard to sell something, versus content is really helping them through that journey, helping them understand the different products, helping them understand what kind of technicalities are there in the different products, and how do you go about making that buyer journey. And if you can give that kind of content, in return what you get is the trust, the credibility that comes from it. And also the fact that at some point in that journey, if you can figure out how to capture their email address, there's a marketing campaign that you can design right around that.
But you know what, Siddharth, while it is fantastic to create content, it is extremely difficult as well. Um,
100%.
because writing content, creating content, first of all, let's talk about writing content, because that is the easiest thing that anybody can do. Writing content takes time. It takes you have to really think about it. You have to think about what you're writing, and a lot of times maybe people might not have the time, or people not have the inclination to write. That itself is difficult. And then it is only once you write the content can you then make a YouTube video out of it. It is an important journey, but I would say it's not an easy one. And so therefore it comes down to prioritizing what are those important products and what are the important content that needs to be made. How do I prioritize my products? That okay, for this quarter or maybe for this year, I want to really focus on this one product. I'm going to focus heavily on creating the content for this product, get this product done well, and then I will move on to the next one.
Makes sense. I couldn't agree with you more, right? The writing itself, especially for an audience and making it impactful for them, is not an easy task. It takes some sort of knack for writing also, not just understanding the products enough and well. It takes some sort of knack for writing, which is where I think I would want to understand from you, how do you do it? I have some thoughts on how a lot of manufacturers in India could potentially
So
do it.
our marketing team is also quite small at the moment. For a long time, it was just me, and around November of last year, we added one more member to our marketing or digital marketing team at least. At the moment, and for a long time, I basically write the content by myself, and I basically take at least 1 or 2 hours, maybe sometimes more, sometimes less, out of the week, specifically only to write content, because of how because I view it as so important to the long-term success of our digital marketing efforts. My current focus is also to try to get freelancers to help me write the content. What I've also tried more specifically to get technical freelancers, which means people with engineering backgrounds, because obviously for a technical B2B product, we kind of need more technical writers. And what I've also tried to do is to get some of my engineers to maybe not write it fully, but at least write down the outline, write down the formulae, get all of that technical information down, and then I can at least structure it after that. That also helps quite a bit, because I am not somebody with a technical background per se. Having at least the equations down, having all the technical sentences down helps me quite a bit, and it reduces my time writing this content quite a bit.
Yeah, I think you guys are doing a phenomenal job, and I say this not because I completely understand the technicalities of it, but when I look at content marketing that a company is doing, I look for consistency, right? And I think if the consistency is there, they're up to something. And when I see your blog, when I see your LinkedIn, there's consistency in terms of the articles that are being posted, and these are not just one or two liners about a post. It's just detailed sort of blogs on your products, on the technicalities of your products, that's being posted. And I think that's where a lot of people who are doing content marketing need to focus, is there needs to be consistency. You can't just post one article today and then come back 4 months later, post another article, and hope that the SEO and the content marketing is going to give you results.
So that's what all the articles online talk about as well, is consistency. If you're not consistent, Google will forget about you. You need to be constantly every week, and it's not about just posting every week. It's also about updating your old articles. So updating your old articles is also quite important. And this is actually somewhere I think we've failed on the YouTube side of things, is because for YouTube videos, the production time is quite a bit, and consistently churning out YouTube videos is not an easy task. And therefore you will see that we might have quite a bit on the views side, but we don't really have much on the subscriber side because we're not able to
Right.
consistently produce those videos. On the video side, it's not easy to be consistent, but on the article side, on the writing side, it is much easier to be consistent. But it's something that you have to dedicate yourself to. It's not something you can do one and done. It's something you have to do constantly.
And with how easy it's gotten to, and I use the word easy very loosely, I'm sure it's still difficult to figure out technical writers and freelancers, but there's so many platforms like LinkedIn and other platforms where you can get content writers and maybe technical content writers too, that's an area that entrepreneurs can also sort of explore, where they're overlooking maybe two three freelancers who are creating this content, and then, as you said, tying it up all together and putting in your final touch before you post it out there. That's a strategy that a lot of entrepreneurs could potentially use.
So it's funny that you specifically mentioned that, because that is literally what we did about 2 weeks ago. Is we put a LinkedIn post saying that we're looking for technical content writers, and we got quite a bit of response. I think we got something like 15 people who contacted us to be technical content writers. So yeah, all of these things kind of tie back together, and hopefully we're building a foundation, and that we're building a foundation to get to higher heights, obviously bigger heights.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Have you explored gated content where you can potentially get some details from the customer, which happens a lot in the B2B SaaS world? There's just a lot of gated content. I haven't seen the same in the manufacturing world. Have you explored that?
So the only gated content we really have on our website are catalogs, where people need to give us their email address and their phone numbers in order to download our catalogs, because we obviously want lead generation. And honestly, where we're going long term with it is where you getting these email addresses from our blogs and from our catalogs, and we're using those email addresses to constantly get in touch with those customers. So we're sending weekly newsletters, or at least bi-weekly newsletters, where we're sending them the content that we're writing, or we're sending them more information about our products, so that they're constantly being reminded that Axis exists and Axis sells these products. So it's again part of that whole brand building exercise. There's kind of like a flow where somebody might see us first on YouTube, or somebody might first see us on Google, then they give us their email address, and then we use that email address to constantly contact them. Not in an annoying way, but maybe a weekly or bi-weekly email where we're sending them useful information. And because they're seeing that useful information, hopefully then they want to buy from us, or at least they give us an inquiry.
I completely agree. I was just going to get to that, right? The email marketing campaigns and newsletters, and I wanted to understand if you guys are doing it now that I know that you guys are doing it. I'm with you on the fact that there's a thin line between it being called as spam, if you're consistently sending them emails. But what you said stood out for me is it's not salesy. It's not saying, hey, come buy this product. It's about information that is relevant to them, that is relevant to the industry that they're in right now, right? And what it does is, if done right, it enhances the trust and credibility significantly, keeps your brand top of their mind whenever they're making a purchase decision, or maybe even referring other customers to go buy these products.
Yeah, definitely. We try not to be spammy, but one thing we're also constantly trying with these email lists is we're trying to experiment and see what kind of email elicits the best responses, and we're trying to learn from seeing what people are doing online, and trying to constantly innovate, because I think with this kind of digital marketing, you have the chance to innovate constantly and try new things. Where with an exhibitions, it's kind of one and done, and then the next time you can innovate is the next time the exhibition happens. But with these kind of digital marketing kind of perspectives, you can innovate much more often.
I think that's the beauty of the digital world, right? You can A/B test so quickly, you can iterate so quickly, something that you potentially can't do at an exhibition, right? If you learn something at a particular exhibition, you might have to wait 2 years to go to the same exhibition to try that new experiment out, which is where the digital world is so amazing, where you can iterate so quickly.
Even in the exhibition spaces, we experiment quite a bit with. For example, this year at the exhibition stall, we had a mug printing corner, where if there's a customer who we think is very important, we will take a picture of them and we'll get a mug printed which has our logo on it, and which has a picture of them on it as well. So first of all, they have to wait for about 10 minutes for it to get printed. So it forces them to have a longer conversation with us. And secondly, they take that mug with them back to their office, and they're constantly drinking tea from it, and they're constantly looking at their face, but they're also constantly looking at our logo. So you can definitely experiment even on the non-digital space, but it's just that you can't innovate as often. You're gonna have to wait quite a bit of time.
100%. Now that you bring out exhibitions, right? I think one of the topics that a lot of people talk about is the integration of marketing, the offline to online integration. And I think exhibitions is where you capture a lot of leads. What do you do with those leads after that? What kind of, are you doing any sort of email campaigns, online email marketing with these guys? How do you nurture these leads? How do you keep them warm?
So the very first thing that happens once we meet these people at the exhibition is, as soon as we are back in the office, we obviously digitalize it. Even while we are at the exhibition space, we're constantly scanning the cards and we're constantly digitalizing those contacts to make sure that we don't lose any single contact and the notes that go with the contacts. Once that is done, then we export it into Excel or whatever other format. We upload it to our email marketing service, and then we send all of them a thank you email. That thank you for coming to the exhibition, and then based on what product that they were interested in, we start sending them regular emails on that. Okay, this is the product that you were interested in, and these are the services that we offer for that product, and this is the content that we have on this product. And then maybe a little bit more down the road, then we start with our usual weekly or bi-weekly newsletter that we send. Again, they never forget about us. That is the ideal scenario. Sometimes some people fall through the cracks, but that is the ideal scenario. The ideal scenario is also that we differentiate our customers by their customer segment, where different customer segments get different emails. Somebody who has already bought from me, I send them more, not so many salesy emails. I just send them, like, oh, thanks for being a part of our family, thanks for buying from us, etc., etc. While somebody who's never bought from us, I will send them more salesy emails, or maybe I'll send them discounts or something like that. And the people who are really good at these are e-commerce companies. While our segmentation is not so good, that is something that we want to get better at.
Have you automated this email
That is
marketing?
again something that we're working on. I want to work on something called a welcome series, where as soon as somebody is added to our email list, then there is a series of emails that is just sent bang, bang, bang without us having to do anything. So let's say I have a welcome series that's maybe 12 emails long, and it sends every 2 weeks. Then for 24 weeks, that customer is getting regular emails. I don't have to worry about it. I don't have to think about it. And for half a year, I have content that is being sent. That customer is being slowly nurtured, is constantly being reminded. And then maybe after 6 months, then they think, okay, I might want to place an order with them.
I just want to summarize for our audience, right? So far, what we've discussed is Axis was traditionally, like all manufacturers, a very outbound sort of marketing company where you were going to trade shows and exhibitions and putting your products out there and trying to win customers there. In the last 3-4 years, you've gone down that digital route, and it was an interesting journey that started out from a root cause analysis of a product that didn't work as expected, that went took you down the YouTube video journey, and then the LinkedIn thing happened, and now you're doing a lot of content marketing. So from the looks of it, you figured out content marketing. You're consistently figuring out SEO and how to get more inbound interest generated, and now you're figuring out email marketing. What's next?
We're kind of looking at more how do we generate that kind of lead generating content. So there are a couple of things that we're working on simultaneously. For example, I'm currently building a 100-page document that is looking into one of our specific product groups and how customers can use that product group, and really going into detail about that particular product group, and going into, so that people give us their email addresses, people give us their contacts, so they can learn much more about that particular product group. I also got a couple of computer science interns, and so these interns are helping me with some other lead generation kind of things that we're building on our website. And then on top of that, a much bigger project is I'm building some software that I'm going to be handing out to customers for free, or at least very less cost. Again, this is again for lead generation. My whole purpose is generating as many leads as possible through our website and through our digital marketing kind of efforts.
I have so many questions. The 100-page book, who's writing that? What's in it? That's a perfect gated content example, right? Because if it's relevant and if it's to the to a particular pain point, it can generate so much buzz for access, and the kind of leads that you can potentially get out of it would be fantastic. So take me deeper into what is that.
I noticed that some of our international competitors had these kind of documents that went into a lot of detail about one of our product groups. And I realized that in the Indian context, there's nobody who has this kind of content. And it would add a lot of value to the Indian consumer, and not just the Indian consumer, but also some other regions. So I decided that, okay, why don't I start going down that journey, see how much time it takes me, and I'm doing this myself. I'm using the help of my technical team, but obviously I'm leading the writing part of it. I'm hoping to generate a lot of leads through this content that I'm making, or through this, gated content as you call it.
Fantastic. I'm going to be the first person to sign up. I'm not going to be a relevant lead for you, but I would love to understand what is this 100-page book about, because this is so fascinating for me, not because this hasn't happened before, but because a B2B manufacturer with a highly technical product, this is not the normal route a lot of people end up taking, right? So Sahil, I think it was great understanding how Axis is looking at, how you and Axis are looking at digital marketing and what that can potentially help your organization in. If I were to summarize, we've obviously talked about the different mediums to put out content and to build your lead funnel. But I think what digital marketing is giving people the ability to do is develop trust on a continuous basis rather than on a one and done basis like an exhibition, helps attract talent, and at some point it can be a big channel for client acquisition. That might not happen on day one, but over a period of time, I think, as you said, with the gated content that you're going to put out, the software that you're going to put out, you're going to potentially get a lot of leads that will eventually convert. Client acquisition from digital marketing over a period of time can be a significant addition to the other marketing efforts that you're doing. So that's something that manufacturers or entrepreneurs should look at. It's a topic that's not focused on so much. Thank you so much for being candid about the strategy that Axis is following for digital marketing. I think it'll help a lot of people who are listening and who are running their own businesses to implement some of these strategies and learn and execute some of these things. Once again, thank you so much for spending time with us, Sahil.
Well, thanks for having me, Siddhant. It was a great talking to you today.